It's not an easy subject to cover because you have in the same neighborhood some people who are feeding the squirrels and some people who are wanting to get rid of the squirrels. And if you will, the squirrels might be just a bit confused, but let me tell you, they're going to go to wherever there is feed. So basically, squirrel management, and that would spill over to a lot of the critters that we have affecting our garden, but squirrels are a little bit of a different challenge since they can jump from branch to branch and so forth and come in from overhead, if you will. The first thing to do is to remove any attractant. And an attractant would simply be a source of food. Again, in the wintertime, we feed birds, and the squirrels appreciate that. Won't be too long, and garden centers, maybe the box stores, will have bags of squirrel corn that we feed squirrels and watch their antics and so forth. Well, those kinds of things have to be removed, especially during the growing season, if we're to guard our garden plants from squirrels. Repellents. There was an interesting study done involving a number of different repellents. The study involved putting some peanuts in the shell in a location and then spreading around the perimeter of that location about, 3-foot diameter, a repellent. And the repellents ranged from critter repellent, which you can buy, mothballs, coyote urine, I don't know where you get that from, and rags soaked with household ammonia. The only one that was really effective were rags soaked with household ammonia. And how many of us are going to keep household ammonia rags around our tomato plants and so forth? So the bottom line is the use of repellents is not very effective. If you are located in a situation where there aren't that many squirrels, but they just seem to have found you, then trapping them and relocating them, preferably in a different county, is a way that we can thin out the population. In suburbia, the only natural control for a squirrel is an automobile. I think conservationists will tell you that's a squirrel's number one enemy or cause of death because we don't have that many coyotes or dogs or owls or so forth. But trapping them can get rid of some problematic and hopefully thin the population out. Owls, if you will, feed on squirrels, but again, in the cities, we don't find many owls. But we can find owl decoys, and perhaps for a brief while maybe, fool the squirrels into thinking that this is real. It's important if you use these kind of decoys to alter the location of the decoy. Even a squirrel isn't dumb enough to think that an owl sits there 24 hours a day for about 2 months. So you have to alter where you put the decoy to have any chance for that to work. I encourage predators. Again, we like to think of a squirrel living a long life and dying a peaceful death, but on the other hand, fact of life is they're feeding on your tomatoes. And if you encourage predators such as birds of prey, I don't know that I encourage coyotes or so forth, but this can help to manage the population as well. Get a dog, perhaps the yippier, if you will, more barks and so forth, the better off you are. I don't know that a lot of us would like to keep dogs that we have on a leash around our tomato plants, but dogs can be a natural deterrent. The final one is the most effective, although the most expensive, and that would be covering our garden plants. Be advised there are, I'll call that a structure that you can purchase to cover plants. This one you see is quite small. They do make them larger so that the squirrel has no chance of getting inside that. Homemade ones, such as this, get a bit more expensive, but on the other hand, you can grow things like tomatoes or sweet corn or other things that squirrels favor. There's no reason that those can't be used over and over. And if you look very carefully, especially at the left-hand one, you will see that they have netting, and that's called chicken wire netting, over the roof so that there's no jumping in from a limb above or no scurrying over the top. Squirrels can climb up chicken netting and still get inside. So basically, the most foolproof, albeit the most expensive, would be to somehow cage our plants so that squirrels and other vermin, deer, rabbits, groundhogs, and so forth, cannot get to them. That is the most effective way. And if you're in a situation, you reside somewhere where there's a heavy population of squirrels, that might be the only way that you can successfully grow garden plants.